So you want to do quantitative research? Well, I'm here to help you out. By the way, my name is Kenderick Harris, and I will guide you through all of the processes of quantitative research. Let's go ahead and get started. My purpose for today is to help simplify your experience. I want to help you understand the quantitative research project. Encourage you to continue your education. Usually, when you're going into grad school, you're going to have to do some type of research, whether it's quantitative or qualitative. So this guide will help you through your process. I'm a visual learner, so sometimes looking at a PowerPoint or looking at something as vibrant as what's on your screen will definitely help me out. So I hope that it helps you out also. So what is quantitative research? Well, to sum it all up, quantitative research is gathering numerical data or statistics. It's a very systematic process. You follow a strict guideline. It focuses on the collection of numerical data, and it usually has a larger amount of participants compared to qualitative research. So if that's interesting to you, then maybe quantitative research might be just for you. So when looking at the types of quantitative research, there's 4 general types. You have your survey research, you have your correlational research, experimental research, and then you have causal comparative research. So we have surveys and questionnaires, and the purpose of that is pretty much to gather information from participants or respondents. An example of a survey: after purchasing an item from either Best Buy or Walmart, you receive a receipt, and at the bottom of that receipt, it asks for you to provide feedback. That's a survey. Next, we have an experimental design, and it's used to test the impact of a treatment on an outcome while controlling other factors. So when creating your research paper, you're going to follow this format. You're going to have your introduction, then you're going to have a statement of the problem. You're going to have the purpose of the study, the research questions or hypothesis, not to mention the theoretical perspective. Then you're going to have a review of literature. Then you're going to do the methods. Then you'll finish it off with the study. And of course, you have to have an appendix. So let's look at the research purpose. When you're creating a research purpose, you're looking to either test the hypothesis, look at cause and effect, or make predictions. All right, now looking at the research question. Usually a research question is going to start with what or how. So for example, what's the percentage of dual enrollment students who receive A's in their first semester? Or how do parents rate their students' teachers? These are all research questions that can be quantified. So now we're going to talk about the methods portion of a research study. You're going to identify your population. The readers need to know who is the population. So are you going to reach out to academic deans or undergraduate students or graduate students? You're also going to state the size of your population, whether it's 50 or 100 or 200. Make sure that the reader understands this. Then you're going to move on to identifying whether the sampling design is a single stage or a multi-stage. Then you're going to identify the selection process. So you can do either a random sample, which speaks for itself, or you're going to do a systematic sample, or you're going to do a non-probability sample. So this is where the quantitative research process gets a little complicated. So your first step is to report the information on the number of members of the sample who did or did not return the survey. So for example, if you sent out 100 surveys and only 50 responded back, then you will report that in your information. Then the next step is to pretty much talk about response bias and letting your readers know how the response bias will be determined. Next, you have descriptive analysis. This in your paper is where you'll see a lot of numbers and percentages. So you have means, you have standard deviation, and then you have a range of scores for these variables. Creswell states that you have to assume that you are going to proceed beyond the descriptive approaches, and if the proposal contains an instrument with scales or a plan to develop scales, identify the statistical procedure. To summarize step 5, You're going to talk about your rationale for the choice of statistical tests. You're going to identify independent and dependent variables. And all of these components will help a researcher figure out what is the best statistical test to use. And the last step of the data analysis methods is to pretty much just present your results. Now, these results will be in tables and figures. So when you're looking at some of the responses that you got from your surveys or questionnaires, they'll be in the table and you'll be able to look and you can find some pertinent information. So now you have your data in the form of figures and tables, and now you're able to draw conclusion from your results. So now you're able to look at this data and you're able to see what's the larger meaning, what's the big picture. And then you're able to make those interpretations, and then you can discuss the implications of your results. What happened in your research project? What did you find that was interesting? So after you've done all of that, that leads you to your conclusion, and then that's how you end your research project. So you end it off with the conclusion, of course. So once again, my name is Kenderick Harris, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be able to explain to you what quantitative research is. This is just the start. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about qualitative and then mixed methods research. I want to take this time to thank my instructor, Dr. Masawa, for coming up with such a creative activity and allowing us to be creative.